Now with our next panel, please join me in welcoming Mr. Shankar as the moderator for the panel, and Dr. Muhammad Raad, Engineer Khalid Bukhari, Mr. Hassan Habib, and also Mr. Salim Shingeti.
Okay, morning. I see only one lady here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here to the second day of the seminar. And today, I'm going to be your moderator for a panel discussion, as it says, integrating for safety, the challenges and the synergies. Now, my job for the next 40 minutes is to synthesize the decades of experience we are going to bring on the table by inviting the gentlemen which are here on the panel as flashed on the screen. And why are we doing this panel? We are doing this panel because, as we've all heard, that there is a big transformation which is happening around the country. And the transformation is not just mere acceleration, it's an explosive growth. Now, we are talking about increasing the passenger traffic to 330 million. We are talking about taking to destinations over 250 international destinations. We are talking about increasing the cargo capacity to 4.5 million tons. Now, these are very big numbers. Now, these big numbers, of course, is ambition, and that's where the ambition is for the country to go. But along with this ambition, if this ambition is not tempered with a pinch of safety, yes, these numbers could look quite different at the end of 5 years at 2030. Now, if you're going to have this kind of explosive growth, you know, the key industries which are generating this growth and are participants of the industry, namely the regulator, the ANSP, that's the air navigation service provider, the airport operator, and the ground handling agents. These are currently functioning as independent silos or islands of compliance. So every entity is doing its own little bit of compliance, but do you think that with this kind of a growth, would it be possible that we could de-risk this explosive growth instead of working in silos to work along as a continent of compliance? So, and this is quite real, because if SANS is managing the airspace very effectively by having new technology and training, you know, it is only limited by the ground handling agency, which can turn around that finite number of aircraft. Or if the airport capacity increases, and that is happening, but let's say the regulator is saddled with old data or reactive data, the system is not going to be safe to handle this kind of a growth. So to navigate this part, I will be calling 4 key pillars of this ecosystem, which are the panelists here. So representing the regulator, please welcome Khalid from the General Authority of Civil Aviation. So as GACA transitions to risk-based oversight, which was told yesterday, he's the man responsible for the safety picture. Khalid Bukhari is the Director of Aviation Safety Performance at GACA, and he brings over 15 years of experience across civil aviation, aerospace and defense, and oil and gas. So he's the man for the job. And Khalid holds a degree in electrical engineering, and his work focuses on national safety performance and supports the implementation of the state safety program, which he had covered yesterday. To represent the airspace part, we have Salim from SANS. So Salim manages the invisible infrastructure, the invisible part, because that's in the sky. He's the critical part which manages the traffic in the skies. Salim is the Chief of Safety and Quality for Air Traffic Control at Saudi Air Navigation Services, or SANS. He has 15 years of operational and managerial experience. He holds a bachelor's in aviation management from Coventry University, a bachelor's in law, and he's also completed a practical legal training program. For the infrastructure part from the airport, we have Hassan from Tiba Airports. So Hassan and his company operate under the BTO model, and he sits right at the intersection of commercial performance and safety compliance. Hassan Habib is the Aviation Safety and Sustainability Manager at Tiba Airports, and he holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Colorado State University and also from the ACI, which is the Airport Council International. He's a certified airport safety professional. He's an aviation professional with over a decade of experience in airport operations, safety management, and sustainability. And finally, bringing up the part from logistics and ground operations, we have Dr. Mohammed Rod. He's from SAL. He deals with the physical reality of the supply chains, the ramp work, and he is the crucial human factor on the ground connecting all these other agencies. He's the director of HSC at Saudi Logistics Services Company. He's a seasoned aviation and logistics professional, and Mohammed has worked across airports, airlines, regulators. I know he was working for GACA for the last few years until the last few months, and with ground service providers. His focus is on transforming compliance into collaboration and ultimately into excellence. So, getting down to business, can I have a mic, please? First and foremost, welcome. Welcome all the panelists to spare the time today, and without going much into the other riffraff, let's get down to brass tacks. And I'll start off from the top. Top means the skies, so it starts off from you, Salim. So let's start off with this part that we've heard on the Vision 2030 plan, increase of passenger capacity to 330 million pax. Now, the 330 million pax to any other passenger means, oh my God, that's going to be a whole, crowding in the airports, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not your part of ship. It also means that 330 million passengers would be traveling in the planes, and your thing is how to put the metal in the sky safely. Now, since your task is keeping the planes in the sky safe, and also the challenge is that the sky part is safe, but what about the part where the sky meets the runway at the last terminal point? And this part is also important because we do know that this is the part where, the traditional guardrail of, the RA and TA, which is there, provided by the traffic collision avoidance systems, are no longer existing, and that's where the ATC comes into play even more. So how do you see and how do you forecast that you would be able to manage the air traffic flow safely without tripping yourself up with this great expansion which is happening? And how do you think that you also have some certain parameters, KPIs to pursue? So how do you think that this will not entangle with the safety part?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you, Shankar. Thank you, everyone, for this. This is a great opportunity for us to join the conversation and have some sort of, to add the ANSP perspective into the discussion. So you mentioned that basically the projected numbers, we're talking about 330 million passengers in almost 5 years. And the way we look at it, it's basically safety is at core of everything we do. So every and each change, regardless of its size or its complexity, it has to go through the proper safety or the SRM that mentioned earlier by the colleagues from Marsh. The parameters basically does not change. All the minimums, whether it's the minimum required separations or all the parameters, the minimum required separation has to be applied. We just had this strategic plan to ensure that we redesign the airspace so that we can accommodate the expected growth of traffic. We also are working very closely with the other stakeholders, especially in terms of the last part of the slide, you said the airports, and to ensure that we are working together to ensure we don't just work on our part. We have to integrate with the airports, with the airlines, and with the regulator in first place to ensure all the expected growth is safely and efficiently integrated into the operation.
So would you say that you have the right technology and the right people to do this now? Or do you think that this thing also needs to evolve?
From the ANSP side, if we're talking about 100 million passengers today, for example, and we're expecting 300 million passengers in a 5 or 6 years' time, it's only the amount of traffic that we are expecting to deal with. So we have like big plans to ensure we're working towards having the proper resources in terms of the human capital, in terms of the updating the systems, enhancing the procedures, and working towards having modernized airspace and agreements with all the stakeholders that are involved to ensure we're ready. So currently, we are confident we have the right people. We've already invested in the systems, in the procedures, and the working arrangements with all the stakeholders. And we're monitoring the gradual increase in traffic very closely, and we are updating the key performance areas so we don't wait for incident or accident to happen. We're utilizing and monitoring all the key performance areas to ensure we are focusing on the area that are most needed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Salim, and for that little bit of insight. And now from the airspace part, let me come to the, I think we have a feedback. Yeah. I'll come to the ground part, and the question now going to you, Hassan, would be that you're looking at the airport part, and you know, in Atiba, as I understand, works on a BTO model. That puts you at a unique position because you need to balance the commercial performance and you have to look after the safety compliance also. Now, at one side, you have the investors, which are probably looking at your balance sheet, and you have the other side, you know, people like Khalid, who comes from GACA, looking at your books, right? Or rather, let me say, the safety manual and the procedures. So you're being pushed for airport capacity maximization to handle this 330 million passengers which are coming in. Now, how do you preserve your SMS principles in this case? At one side, a commercial part, and the other side, a safety thing. And do you think that your people or the people working the ground in the airport, do they have that safety authority to be absolute, you know, when they flag a certain risk or a hazard?
Well, having the requirement, as you stated, to have a commercial value of the airport as well as the operational efficiency while maintaining the, let's say, the regulations from the state. Of course, it doesn't come down to only the employees on ground. It starts from embedding the SMS principles within the organization, so that it's not that decision comes on ground only, but it's from the beginning, from assigning or operating airlines within the airport, operating new companies. So we had to define our scope of work, ensuring that our SMS principles are defined, whether we have our accountability and responsibility distributed from top to bottom, ensuring that our accountable executives are in the loop of making decision as per our the safety regulation. So we maintain a very transparent safety management system within the airport, ensuring that the risk assessments are conducted at the beginning, not when issues arise, just to ensure that we have our hazard identification processes taking place, as well as risk assessments, mitigation controls, continuous monitoring, and of course, enhancing our processes, procedures, even obtaining the proper technology that will help us implement a proper safety management system within the airport.
Thank you, Hassan. So from the air to the ground, and I think now it shifts to you, Dr. Mohammed, because your company is the one which is actually touching in the human element between the planes, the cargo, the goods, since you're also into ground handling. Now, if SANS is managing the airspace and he's managing the airport, you are touching the aircraft and the cargo, right? And you're dealing with a massive logistics ambition of generating a huge amount of cargo growth. But it also means that your people are interacting with a huge amount of entities, which would be the airlines, it would be the ground handling agents, it could be a whole lot of other people, also, for example, on DG or other things which you have to do. So now, being a logistics services a solution provider and also being on a ground handling part, how do you ensure that the safety part can be integrated with these multiple stakeholders that you have to deal every day as part of your job? And do you think that there is a unified approach which can be done across this part so that the ramp safety at least can be preserved from your point?
All right. Thank you, Shankar. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I think let's go a step back and put things in perspective. So at the moment, Saudi covers a lot of cargo worldwide. And SAL covers and handles about 95% of the cargo that is already coming into Saudi. That's a lot. And then with Vision 2030 and the massive ambitious expansions and growth, and then putting that into perspective for SAL's 2030 targets, we're talking about 4 years from now. And depending on the business line and business units, you're talking about a growth of 8-folds. Now, in any company, any organization worldwide, any country, that's a lot of expansion, a lot of growth in a very, very short period of time. And that's really what we're going to be tackling over the next few years to ensure exactly what you're talking about. Now, the solution that we've found in SAL is integration, but not integration in the sense of I'm integrating safety into everything. No, it's really what Marsh talked about initially and briefly. It's enterprise risk management, but really focusing on what works best for us, and that's integrating a bit slow. So we're starting with an HSSE, Integrated Management System. That's health, safety, security, and environment. And it's really then utilizing the core of this integrated management system. And I'm going to be talking briefly about 4 cornerstones, basically, of what we did in SAL to really touch upon exactly the sorrow that everyone is feeling in the aviation industry. So first, that's the collaborative approach. So not just collaborating amongst ourselves and breaking the silo internally within the organization, but also collaborating with all the stakeholders. Now, SAL is not only regulated by GACA, it's regulated by many other internal and external international regulators and certifying bodies. That on its own is a massive task to do. 2, and that's one thing that all airports would love to hear, all airlines would want, the regulator is dying to get, and that's data transparency. So anything that we have, anything that we find, any finding, non-conformity, safety report, anything that we do within the organization is shared across the board, bottom up, top down, to other organizations, internally, internationally, and regionally. The third pillar that we're touching upon is not just integrated culture, but integrated culture enhancement. So whether you're talking about safety culture, you're talking about risk culture, you're talking about security culture, culture is culture. It's the way that we do things. So why spend time working and enhancing people's understanding about what safety is while we can talk about what risk is, what HSSE is, what management is, what culture is, and working on that systemically and systematically to ensure that we grow the sense of awareness and how am I performing. What am I doing? How am I doing this without anyone or with anyone not looking at me? That's really the sense of it. And the fourth part is not just data transparency, but digitizing everything that we do. And with digitizing everything that we do, we need to take into account that not everything, or, you know, in the end, we work in aviation, in any industry, things happen, things go wrong. And the way you look at it is through behavioral analysis, through integrating with your stakeholders, integrating with your internal parties, internal partners, and knowing that humans are humans and humans make mistakes. And that grows and then flourishes and enhances your just culture, eventually your safety culture, eventually your integrated culture. One topic that you've mentioned, or one item that you've mentioned was quite interesting to me, and that's efficiency. And how is with other partners in the aviation industry, we really don't see efficiency as a competitor. You know, I know Swissport is here, they talk about safe on-time performance, and that's exactly the point. We don't see efficiency as a competitor, we see it as a co-pilot, where efficiency and safety or efficiency and culture works hand in hand to ensure that we reach the level that we want.
Thanks, Mohammed. It does seem that, like you brought out, since you're, let me put it this way, since you're dancing with multiple partners, you need to be very adept in dancing, and you need to tell everybody, okay, look, this is how we're going to dance. Well, I think that's a progressive way. And I think that, you know, what we were discussing about integrating for safety, at least one can see that there's the effort, which is probably based out of need also. Yeah, because like you said, you're dancing with multiple partners. So at least there's an effort for integrating on the safety. So we'll come back to this part later on. And now coming back to you, Khalid, as the one of the questions on the last part. You know, we've heard all these service providers from the air, the ground, and the person on the ground connecting everything. And you're the one who is supposed to be supervising and regulating everything. Now, you have the responsibility for the national picture, like we said on the NASP. And you also have said that GACA is transitioning to a risk-based approach, which relies on data. Now, of course, that's a shift from a traditional approach, which is the compliance checklist that, have you done this, have you done this, I'm going to come here, check you this. So it's a shift. Now, for the shift, it means that you need data which needs to be shared and managed effectively between all of them. So do you think that this could be done? And do you think that the industry would be willing to share, for example, like TIBA working on a commercial, Edge, RAD working with multiple partners, and all commercially driven, would they be willing to share that kind of a data which you are thinking would be required for your performance-based oversight? And how will you create this national level safety picture which is predictive rather than just reactive? Because the reactive data, definitely they would be giving it to you. So what do you think about this part? Is GACA ready, and what are they going to do about it to make this thing happen predictive way?
Okay. Thank you, Shankar. Assalamu alaikum. So to answer the first part about the data sharing, from what we saw through these couple of days, one of the most important things for data sharing and open communication is safety culture, and at the heart of that is just culture. Just culture, openness, and data protection. So GACA, from the day it started its authority, it had clearly specified GACA for data protection, and that data shared voluntarily will not be used for any punitive action. And throughout the years, for example, through our mandatory reporting system, voluntary reporting system, we have seen a growth in the numbers of reports. So if I compare just 2023 and 2024, traffic movement in the kingdom, because of the expansion, it's rapidly moving towards this objective and expanding the aviation sector. The movement increased by 11%. However, the number of reports received to GACA increased by almost 30%. Now, someone might interpret that, okay, safety report increased, means maybe safety is compromised. But then we go back to something we also discussed yesterday. the number of reports, if they increased, but however, these reports are low severity reports and not high severity reports, that means safety culture is improved. And this is actually the case. So comparison between 2023 and 2024, if we look at high severity reports, the numbers remain the same. And if you look at it from perspective of actually expansion, you would say it's decreased. Comparing what we have from information in 2025 to 2024, again, reports increased there's a huge increase in reports received to GACA, and at the same time, our safety performance has improved. So this is positive culture. We already have that connection between us and the service provider. We already have the data, and as part of the performance-based oversight, and what I mentioned yesterday about it starts now with the organizational safety risk profiles, the data already existing. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to implement this in 1 year. So we had an organizational safety risk profile for each organization based on indices and information. Probably some of the information were not available, but we were able to obtain this information very quickly by collaboration with the service providers. And now we do have a picture nationally of the organization safety risk profile, which is just a start. So we do have the data, we do share this. Now, for the second part, how we will translate that or use this information to build our picture, national aviation picture. So under this organizational risk profile, it's built on indices and it's published on GACA website, the mechanism, the framework, we publish it. And this is something good about the aviation industry, by the way. Throughout the years, the key thing about the aviation industry is sharing of data. Everything is public, you know. So we publish this framework. It's a framework for us to nationally manage or have a risk profile picture. However, we tell the industry how we're going to do it. We don't share the information because it's going to be confidential for each organization. However, we share with them how we're going to do it, how we intend to do it, because it's all about knowing, and then it's all about continuous improvement. And the unique thing about this organizational safety risk profile, it's built on 11 indices. This has been taken from best practices around the world. Some of these indices measure safety management, personnel, capacity, training, compliance, etc. Okay? And these 11 indices are actually common for each organization and each area. When I say technical area, I mean aerodromes is one, flight operations is one, navigation services is another, for example. And so for each area, they actually share the common 11 indices. However, how we translate the questions, or let's say the sub-factors that provide us with the information, some of these sub-factors will be the same. For example, safety management system is the same for all of them. But on the other hand, when it comes to complexity, it comes to training, to personnel, operational scope, the factors differ between each sector. So it's different from flight ops to air navigation. And also the complexity factor gives us another level of differentiation of unique operation of, for example, Taiba Airport and Jeddah Airport, a certain airline, other than certain airline. So from that, we have a picture that starts from each organization that we know is standardized. Then that builds us to a picture of each sector or each technical area for aerodrome. And then all of that is translated by specific weights, because each area has a different weight when it comes to risk, to give us the national picture. And all of that happened in a very short time, and it was only possible because we have the data and the information we need. We have the collaboration with the industry. What we are here today is trying to continue this approach. We try to continue on this collaboration and improve it in a systematic way. This is why we are here, and I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Khalid, it does paint a fabric which is a canvas which is all-encompassing, and I can sense and I can see that at least all the elements and all the colors to make that rainbow is present. But how we are going to get the colors painted in, will it work out the same way, is something which, I can't resist asking now a friction question to Dr. Muhammad. Okay, may I draw your attention? And why? This is interesting because Muhammad is, a few months back, like I mentioned, he was working in Dhaka, right? And something which you just said, Khalid, is about this non-punitive data sharing, etc. Mohammed, now, out of your experience now that you are here, an honest opinion, it need not be a reflection of Sal, but just to see as part of the honesty, and since you dance with multiple partners, do you think that the ground staff may not be from Sal, but maybe you have interacted with so many other things? Do you think that they have that kind of a just culture wherein they see a near miss that they would report it, or they find a emergent safety part where they could have the authority to stop something from not happening? Do they fear punishment? And is the data actually being shared as freely as is being desired in this fabric which has been painted?
So I think if we take GACA's perspective, 30% increase in reporting over the last year, that on its own is an indication that reporting culture is increasing, which means in hindsight, reporting has increased even more and more from the operator side or within the operator side. Are we at a level where we can say Saudi or Saudi organizations or GSPs or hold a very good, high standard, mature safety culture? I doubt any of the GSPs in Saudi would say yes. Are we in a transformative phase where we're going and enhancing our systems? Definitely. Is it at the same pace as everyone else? It really depends on the investment. It depends on top leadership. It depends on GACA. It depends on a whole lot of things. Have we improved? We most definitely improved. Do I think SAL still embodies that kind of blame culture and fear culture? No. Is it at a level where I can say, hand to heart, Sal is perfect in this? Please, CEO, don't fire me. No. We're going there. We're building our systems. We're enhancing everything that we can. But culture change takes time. And that's one thing that we don't have at the moment in Saudi with the very ambitious vision. And we have to deal with it. So, SMS, if we go back to Transport Canada, it took them 9 years, and they're the forefront of SMS initially. It took them 9 years to really get to a stage, and we're talking with GACA about within a year or two, you need to be at a level where you're in the green area and you're doing good and you're low risk, etc. That takes a lot of time, and it's all about the efforts that not just SAL is putting in, but it's the collaborative approach with all the stakeholders, because just keep in mind that the ground service providers or the industry of GSPs, you've got a lot of turnover with people and personnel on the ground. So forget management. If you talk about frontliners, the people that are actually touching the aircraft, you could get 3 different employees in the same day doing the same thing. It's just the nature of the business that we're in the region.
Thanks. I must really commend you for that honesty and candor in whatever you just said. And yes, it actually...
If I get fired, I'm sending you the bill.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. We'll tell GACA to hire you back again.
If you allow me, Shankar, thank you, Dr. Muhammad, for your feedback. Actually, you've intrigued something for me to share with everyone. So, when you mentioned all ground service providers, are they having the same safety culture, same safety management system adherence, or let's not say adherence, let's say effectiveness? You said I doubt it, and I totally agree with you. But at the same time, we cannot say if all of them have a mature safety management system or safety culture or not. So it's kind of sitting in the unknown now, unless an organization carry out its own safety management system assessment or its own safety culture assessment. So I would like you all to imagine this. Let's say today, at this moment, us in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, GACA, and the industry together, we do have a picture. Like, I will go and click on SAL and see how they are doing at SMS implementation. Are they at the initial maturity, or are they highly mature? And at the same time, I would look at the safety culture within their organization and see how they do from reporting culture, how they're scoring from just culture, leadership commitment. And then I have these two pictures over the whole industry, the whole sectors, and I can then tell the industry, okay, we have inconsistency here. We have organizations that are falling behind without blame. It's just like they're falling behind. Let's do whatever we can to bring them up at the same level. Let's make sure we all have the same commitment, or at least the same vision or strategies when it comes to how we will improve safety culture and improve safety management system. That would be great, right? Well, under the State Safety Management Program and the National Aviation Safety Plan, this is already at movement. GACA is already, with collaboration with the industry, having those two tools and mechanisms at motion. So right now we are developing our safety management system assessment, and we're developing our safety culture framework.
No, I'm just sorry to interrupt you on,
okay.
on your flow, but you know, we are drawing to a close, and I just have
I just wanted to share that because Dr. Muhammad pointed something really important.
Absolutely.
If these two remain unknown, we will not know where's the baseline and where to go.
Absolutely,
and it's really critical that we know this, and I wanted to share that. Sorry for taking
I'm sure
up that.
you've conveyed that part, and you know, from that part, I just bring one question to Hassan. You know, of course, Khalid just described right now, which he was describing until I had to. I'm really sorry I had to interrupt you that part. But yes, it is about this part that where he would have that kind of a global view, playing around with data to understand what is happening at a company level. But I want to ask you, just like I asked Mohammed, a honest and a direct question. You know, you're like the landlord, all right, the airport guys, because you own the airport, but the actual guys who are working is, you know, the ADCs are working, the ground handling guys are working. They are the hum and the beehive of activity, right? You're just managing the entire thing, collecting revenues from them. Now, of course, you could understand that you would have some metrics, or you would be privy to that data, that some ground handling agencies are cutting corners to have a faster or quicker turnaround times, and to get your airport throughput, because, like I said, you're under a BTO model, so you know there's a lot of commercial pressures around that part. So what I wanted to ask is that, and a quick one, a quick reply would be that, do you think that you have that kind of the authority to kick a ground handling agent out in case if you find that he is cutting corners just to keep a KPI up? Or do you are just a landlord who will keep on collecting revenue and you will wait for something to happen, and you know when Khalid says in his big, magnificent data that something is going wrong, only then you will intervene. Would you do something proactively, is my question.
Well, that's the thing. We're doing things proactively. We're not going to wait until we get to the point where we have to kick someone out of the airport. We're actually keeping close coordination with regulatory bodies, with ground service providers, with airlines, to ensure that the safety is not something that we're doing by the airport itself. It's a collaborative work that has to be done with all entities.
So you mean to say you don't only show teeth, that sometimes you could even bite?
Well, of course, there are always like penalties, not only from the airport perspective, but also from the regulatory bodies, GACA.
Okay, right. Salim, a quick question before we last one to you. You know, we talked about the growth and how you were going to handle, and you said that yes, you were prepared for it. But you know, I thought that one of the things, and since you said that you were from an air traffic background, you know, the air traffic controllers need a lot of time, experience to actually graduate and to be on a level where they could be said that they're competent to handle a dense traffic. Now, what are you doing about the intake of air traffic controllers? Because this is a commodity which is not freely available. And do you think, my question to you is that the controllers which are trained now and ready, say, let's say 5 years back, and the controllers which would be now, you would be hiring for 2030, that's just a 5-year period. Do you think that they would actually be trained to handle this part, or do you think that there is a kind of a risk which is there around this human capital? And you did talk about the human capital too. So do you think there's a risk? A quick answer on that yes or no? And if yes, do you think that it could be, it is something under your control, or you're just playing it as you go?
Thank you very much. So I think you're asking about if we will have the enough resources from the human capital perspective to handle the expected growth of traffic. I think everyone knows air traffic control shortage has been there basically since the establishment of the aviation industry. We've always have shortage in controllers. But we are putting some plans. We are accelerating the intake for staff basically, and we are working in the training programs in a way that we can hire more people in a shorter period of time without affecting the training effectiveness by itself. So the procedures for ensuring the controller, whenever he graduates, he's ready to handle the traffic. That remains almost the same to ensure that whenever he graduates and he's basically licensed to handle the traffic, he is fully competent and capable of doing so. So yeah, I think we are optimistic that we will have at least the required number to manage the traffic safely by 2030.
Okay, so this was more like a diplomatic answer, which I was expecting, but so I'll keep you a direct one. I just want a choice, all right? So if I gave you unlimited budget to say that, okay, you need to fix your safety gap on this, would you invest in more technology or would you invest in more training? Just one answer.
It's quite difficult, so I think I'll go for both, because I think if we invest wisely in technology, that would ultimately help us manage the same amount of load with less number of people. So it's, and we're already in that. I think we at SANS, we have just recently introduced the first virtual control towers in the Middle East, which is a new technology that has, basically it's been implemented for the first time, which is proven effective, where we can provide, if not better and safer, it's almost the same service with less people.
Okay, it was again a diplomatic one. So at the last part, once again, a quick answer to Dr. Mohammed. Just a quick one, no explanations required. What is the biggest risk that you see on the 2030 plan? Is it the complacency of the industry? Is it the complacency of industry means everyone, right? All your dancing partners included. Is it the complexity of what is happening, or is it the capacity? What do you think would be the biggest risk? Complacency, capacity, or complexity?
I think it's the expectation, the maturity, and the growth. It's these three dancing together, using
No wonder
your words.
they call you doctor. Yes, that was out of box answer, and I really like that part. Yes, I think that is true. The expectation sometimes weighs down heavily, and I think that's where it draws down on all these three parts. And if I were to ask you the same question to you, Hassan, is it complacency, complexity, or capacity? Well, in your case, is clear. Relatively, I mean, airports are all about capacity and also about complexity. Where do you think is the biggest risk?
I'd have to agree with Dr. Mohammed. It's more of the expectation itself, but in terms of capacity, Taiba airports are working into expansion currently to build a new terminal within Medina Airport, so just to meet the expectations of the vision. Okay,
and one last question, which is the quick one, excludes you, Khalid, because it's about the regulator. So you three are the service providers. So, you're saying that you're growing fast and there's a demand for growing fast. And we just saw that expectation is weighing down heavily on their shoulders. Do you feel that the safety rule book, which is being coming out from GACA, is there a roadblock for expansion? Do you think that GACA is slowing down whatever you are planning to do? Or do you think GACA is reacting fast enough? So let me start 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think GACA is hugely stepping up towards accepting the change, and at least as far as we're concerned, whenever we interact with GACA, whenever we introduce a change, they just make sure that it's safe to do so, and they never hinder that.
Okay, he's happy to hear that. Okay, no more inspections for you. Okay, what about you?
We're actually in very close coordination with GACA. We're just, and GACA are being very supportive. We just had an SMS workshop this week.
It's responsive. In other words, you're saying responsive, approvals come in time, regulations are completely shaped and attuned to what's happening, what you desire.
Very
It's
responsive.
perfect for all.
Very responsive.
Okay, so it's a little imperfect, but it's about there, all right? And back to you.
So you want to get me fired today, yeah?
Yes,
And
you're
deported.
the inside man. Remember that. You were the inside man.
So I think GACA itself knows that they're not up to the level. They are improving. They're working very, very hard. But this is why they're transitioning into a different system within the next couple of years, moving into the IASA-based system. We know, they know, that the current regulations that we have that we're following are more static than dynamic. But we're getting there.
Good. Thank you. And with that, yes, we bring to a close. We've exceeded by a couple of minutes, but it does bring out that, yes, people know and understand that there are different segments, and they do understand that they need to work together. And one of the progressive partners, let me say, is the one with multiple partners, which is SAL, which is already thinking around this part. But certainly, there are challenges around to do this. And of course, it's heavily reliant on data to predict. But data needs to be shared, right? And then we have these other challenges about human capital development, which is also weighing down. But and I think that something which came out very much is, of course, the ambition weighs down heavily, and everybody does understand that there's a risk to this explosive growth. So with that part, thank you very much, all the panelists, for giving your time and sharing your viewpoints. And until we see you again, let's hope for safety in this explosive growth that Saudi Arabia is aligned and heading on. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the interesting discussions.